Hey everyone, Abdul Wahab here, and welcome back to Pro AW Player, where we dive deep into the best gaming experiences out there. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever started a game thinking you'd just play for an hour, only to look up and realize the sun is set, your snacks are gone, and you're completely lost in another world? Yeah, we've all been there. Some games just have that magic, the kind that pulls you in from the first hour and refuses to let go. Whether it's an intense story, insanely satisfying combat, or just a world so immersive that you forget reality for a while, these are the games that keep you hooked. So today, I've got 20 single-player games that are dangerously addictive games you won't be able to put down once you start. Let's jump right in. Control is one of those games that completely pulls you into its world before you even realize what's happening. From the moment you step into the mysterious Federal Bureau of Control, you know something is off, but in the best possible way. The brutalist architecture, the eerie silence, the objects that seem just a little too alive. It's like stepping into a sci-fi thriller where reality is constantly shifting. Then there's the combat, fast, fluid, and insanely satisfying. Jesse's telekinetic powers make every fight feel like a high-speed, superpowered shootout. You're not just shooting enemies, you're ripping chunks of concrete from the walls, hurling desks like missiles, and dodging through the air like some kind of supernatural agent. And let's not forget the service weapon, a gun that transforms in real time, adapting to how you play. But what really makes Control special is the mystery. Every file you uncover, every whisper in the halls, every strange anomaly, it all adds to this feeling that you're barely scratching the surface of something much, much bigger. The story keeps you guessing, the world keeps you questioning, and by the time you think you have a grip on what's happening, the game throws something even weirder at you. If you love games that make you feel powerful, keep you on the edge of your seat, and make you question reality itself, Control is an experience you won't forget.
The same gun. Now I have a gun.
Mad Max throws you into a lawless, sun-scorched wasteland where survival is brutal and every second feels like a fight to the death. From the moment you step into Max's worn-out boots, you feel the desperation, the need to rebuild, to fight, to escape. But out here, nothing comes easy. Every bullet, every scrap of metal, every drop of water matters, making every decision feel intense and real. The real star of the show? The magnum opus, your customizable death machine on wheels, tearing across the desert, ramming enemy convoys, and unleashing pure chaos in high-speed chases never gets old. The combat is just as raw bone-crunching fistfights that feel straight out of a post-apocalyptic brawler, where every punch carries real weight. But it's not just mindless action. The world is alive in its own eerie, desolate way. Ruined structures hint at a lost civilization. Sandstorms roll in with terrifying force, and ruthless warlords rule over the wasteland with iron fists. Exploring abandoned ruins, scavenging for upgrades, and slowly building your legend in a world that wants you dead is what makes Mad Max so damn addictive. If you're looking for a game that nails the feeling of a brutal, open-world apocalypse, where every fight, every mile, and every explosion tells a story, Mad Max is the perfect ride. Buckle up, because once you hit the road, there's no turning back. Elex 2 is the kind of RPG that doesn't hold your hand. It throws you into a massive, unpredictable world and dares you to survive. Right from the start, you feel like an underdog, scraping by with weak gear, dangerous enemies around every corner, and a world that doesn't care if you make it or not. But that's what makes it so rewarding. Every step forward, every new weapon, every faction choice, it all feels earned. The world of Magalan is a fascinating mix of sci-fi and fantasy, where futuristic technology clashes with medieval ruins, and the choices you make actually shape the world around you. One minute, you're blasting enemies with plasma rifles. The next, you're wielding a sword like an old-school warrior. And the jetpack? Absolute game changer. It's not just a gimmick, it lets you explore everywhere, adding a whole new layer to exploration and combat. Speaking of combat, it's challenging but rewarding. You can't just spam attacks and expect to win. Timing, positioning, and knowing when to fight or when to run makes every battle feel intense. The factions you meet aren't just mindless NPCs either. They have their own beliefs, conflicts, and goals, and your choices actually matter in how they see you. If you love deep, immersive RPGs where the world is unforgiving but incredibly satisfying to master, Elex 2 is an underrated gem you don't want to miss. It's rough around the edges, sure, but once it clicks, you'll be hooked. Atomic Heart throws you into a world that feels like a twisted fever dream, an alternate history Soviet utopia where technology has gone horribly, horribly wrong. From the moment you step into Facility 3826, everything feels unsettling, like something is just off. The once glorious robotic revolution has spiraled into chaos, and now, the very machines built to serve humanity are hunting you down with eerie precision. Combat? It's an absolute adrenaline rush. You're constantly switching between brutal melee attacks, powerful firearms, and crazy elemental abilities that let you fry, freeze, or blast enemies apart. And these enemies, they don't play around. Killer robots, grotesque mutants, and biomechanical nightmares lurk around every corner, forcing you to stay on your toes and think fast. But what really makes Atomic Heart stand out is its world building. The environments are stunning, yet haunting, gleaming futuristic labs, underground bunkers filled with horrific experiments, and vast open areas that feel eerily abandoned. The mix of utopian propaganda and nightmarish destruction creates a contrast that keeps you hooked, making you question what really happened here. If you love games that combine intense action, deep atmosphere, and a storyline that keeps you guessing, Atomic Heart is a wild ride from start to finish. It's unsettling, it's exciting, and once you step into its world, you won't want to leave. Rage 2 is what happens when you take a massive open world, crank up the chaos, and throw in some of the most ridiculously fun combat you'll ever experience. This isn't just another post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's a neon-soaked playground of destruction where everything explodes. Enemies fly across the screen, and you feel like an absolute powerhouse from the moment you start. The gunplay? Incredible. Every weapon has weight, every shot feels satisfying, and once you start unlocking over-the-top abilities, the combat goes from intense to outrageously fun. You're not just shooting enemies, you're launching them into the air, smashing them into walls, and chain blasting through waves of bandits like a one-person wrecking crew. And the best part? The more aggressive you are, the stronger you become. Then there's the world itself. It's not just a dull brown wasteland. Rage 2 throws you into a vibrant, chaotic landscape full of insane factions, bizarre characters, and non-stop action. 1 minute, you're tearing through enemy convoys in high-speed vehicle combat. The next, you're diving into mutant-infested bunkers or going head-to-head with warlords in makeshift battle arenas. If you love fast, fluid, and completely over-the-top action, Rage 2 delivers in the best way possible. It's wild, it's messy, and it's just pure, unfiltered fun from start to finish.
Block's blocking days are over. All clear.
Yeah, the Coalition's gonna love that.
GreedFall is one of those RPGs that completely pulls you in with its rich world, deep storytelling, and meaningful choices. It's got that classic BioWare-style charm, where every decision you make actually matters, but with a setting that feels fresh and unique. Instead of another medieval fantasy or futuristic sci-fi world, you're dropped into an era inspired by 17th century exploration, where magic, diplomacy, and combat all collide in a land full of mysteries. The best part? You shape the story. Every faction has its own motives, and how you interact with them, whether through persuasion, alliances, or straight-up force, completely changes how your journey unfolds. The game never forces you into a single play style either. You can go full warrior, master stealth, or dive deep into magic, making combat feel personal and rewarding. And let's talk about the world. It's gorgeous, immersive, and packed with secrets. From dense forests hiding ancient ruins to cities bustling with political intrigue, every location feels alive. Exploration isn't just about checking boxes. It's about uncovering the history of this world and making real choices that shape its future. If you miss the days of story-driven RPGs that actually respect your choices, GreedFall is absolutely worth your time. It's got deep world building, engaging combat, and a narrative that keeps you hooked from start to finish.
From here. We could go there first.
Very well. Do you think Constantine will be waiting for us next to the ship?
I don't know, but it is certainly worthy of inspection.
Sleeping Dogs is one of those games that grabs you from the very first mission and never lets go. It's like stepping into your own Hong Kong action movie, where every punch, chase, and shootout feels incredibly cinematic. The hand-to-hand combat, brutal and satisfying, with a fluid martial arts system that lets you counter, grapple, and use the environment in ways that never get old. Smashing an enemy's face into a fish tank or slamming them into a phone booth? Yeah, it never stops being awesome. But it's not just about the action. The world feels alive. The neon-lit streets of Hong Kong are dense, packed with detail, and full of things to do. Whether you're racing through tight alleyways on a stolen bike, taking down gang hideouts, or just grabbing some street food, there's always something pulling you deeper into this world. And the story? Surprisingly emotional. You're playing as Wei Shen, an undercover cop torn between his duty and the brotherhood he's built within the triads. That constant tension makes every decision feel meaningful, and it keeps you invested right until the credits roll. If you're into open-world games but want something with heart, grit, and some of the best combat in the genre, Sleeping Dogs is an absolute must-play. It's intense, stylish, and criminally underrated. Once you dive in, you won't want to leave. The Evil Within 2 is the kind of survival horror game that pulls you in and refuses to let go. From the moment you step into the twisted nightmare of Union, you know you're in for something special. The game doesn't just throw jump scares at you, it gets inside your head, keeping you on edge with its eerie atmosphere. disturbing enemy designs, and that constant feeling that something is lurking just around the corner. But what really sets it apart is the freedom it gives you. Unlike the first game, this one lets you explore larger open areas, scavenging for supplies, sneaking past horrors, or going in guns blazing if you dare. Every encounter feels like a gamble. You're never sure if you have enough ammo or if you should just run and pray. And then there's the story. This isn't just about survival. It's about redemption, loss, and facing your worst fears. Sebastian's journey to save his daughter is raw and emotional, making every terrifying step feel personal. Whether you love survival horror or just want a gripping, mind-bending experience, The Evil Within 2 delivers in every way. It's intense, unpredictable, and one of the most underrated horror gems out there. Play it with the lights off if you dare.
There are photos of a bunch of Mobius agents here. Your lost team, I assume.
That's them.
What the?
Prey 2017 is one of those games that completely pulls you into its world and doesn't let go. From the moment you wake up on Talos Wyvern, nothing feels safe. The station is eerily quiet. Every shadow feels suspicious, and then bam, a mimic shapeshifts right in front of you, turning a simple coffee cup into a heart-stopping enemy. This game thrives on tension, making you question everything around you. But it's not just about the scares. Prey gives you freedom, like few other games do. You're not just surviving. You're experimenting, adapting, and outsmarting enemies in ways that feel incredibly satisfying. Want to turn into a tiny object and roll through a gap? You can. Prefer hacking turrets to do your dirty work? Go for it. Every upgrade, every weapon, every choice changes how you experience the game. And then there's the story, deep, mysterious, and layered with twists that keep you hooked. The secrets of Talos I unravel piece by piece. And the more you learn, the more unsettling things become. It's a thinking person's shooter, mixing immersive sim gameplay with gripping sci-fi horror. If you love games that challenge your mind while keeping you on edge, Prey is a must-play.
Attention. Station leadership has issued an alert. All personnel should report to muster stations immediately and await further instructions.
Lots of ways to solve problems on Talos 1. Weapons are one of them, but weapons are rare.
Those paragliders? It used to be a Night Runner's favorite toy.
Dying Light 2. Stay Human takes everything great about the first game and cranks it up to a whole new level. The parkour? Smoother and more fluid than ever. You're not just running across rooftops, you're flying through the city, chaining wall runs, vaults, and death-defying leaps like a post-apocalyptic ninja. And when the sun sets, that's when the real fear kicks in. The streets belong to the infected, and suddenly, every dark alley and abandoned building becomes a high-stakes gamble for survival. But it's not just about survival, it's about choice. The world of Villador reacts to your decisions, shaping the city, shifting alliances, and changing the story in ways that actually matter. Help one faction, and you might gain access to new gear or outposts, but at the cost of making powerful enemies. It's that constant tension. Who do you trust? What risks do you take that keeps every moment gripping? And then there's the combat, visceral, brutal, and ridiculously fun. Whether you're drop-kicking bandits off rooftops, slicing through hordes with a modded-up machete, or using UV light to hold back the nightmarish volatiles, every encounter feels intense. If you love fast-paced action, deep world building, and choices that actually matter, Dying Light 2. Stay Human is a game you absolutely need to experience. Mafia, Definitive Edition isn't just a remake. It's a time machine that throws you straight into the golden age of the mob. From the moment you step into Lost Heaven, a city dripping with 1930s atmosphere, you feel it. The rain-slick streets, the roar of vintage cars, the hushed whispers of backroom deals. This isn't just an open-world playground. It's a living, breathing world built for storytelling, and every detail pulls you deeper into its grip. The story? Pure classic mob drama at its finest. You play as Tommy Angelo, a cab driver who stumbles into the underworld and slowly rises through the ranks of the Salieri crime family. But this isn't some power fantasy you're in for a ride filled with tension, loyalty, betrayal, and brutal consequences. The gunfights are weighty and intense. The car chases are cinematic, and the dialogue feels ripped straight from a Hollywood gangster epic. What makes Mafia Definitive Edition special is how authentic and immersive it feels. The way characters talk, the way the city reacts, the way the music sets the mood, it all feels genuine, like stepping into a lost era of American crime history. Whether you're a fan of the original or stepping into this world for the first time, this is a must-play for anyone who loves gripping narratives, unforgettable characters, and a world that feels alive with danger and intrigue.
Okay, we're at the river. Where am I taking you once we're over the bridge?
I'm getting tired out of questions.
More of them.
Star Wars Jedi. Survivor takes everything great about Fallen Order and cranks it up to a whole new level. The lightsaber combat? Smoother, faster, and more brutal than ever. You're not just swinging a glowing sword, you're a Jedi in full control, mastering different stances, deflecting blaster fire, and taking down enemies in the most cinematic ways possible. But it's not just about the action. This game dives deeper into Cal Kestis' journey, pushing him to his limits as he fights for survival in a galaxy that's closing in on him. The world building here is insane. Every planet feels like a place worth exploring, packed with secrets, hidden paths, and creatures that make the galaxy feel alive and unpredictable. The movement is super fluid, with parkour, mounts, and expanded force abilities, making traversal feel like an adventure in itself. And let's talk about the boss fights. Whether you're facing off against a hulking beast or a ruthless bounty hunter, every duel feels like a moment straight out of Star Wars history. But what really makes Jedi Survivor stand out is how immersive and personal it feels. You're not just following Cal's story, you're living it, feeling the weight of his choices, the danger of every battle, and the thrill of mastering the Force. If you're a Star Wars fan, this game is a dream come true. And even if you're not, it's still an incredible action-adventure experience that shouldn't be missed.
Wow.
Immortals Fenyx Rising is one of those games that completely surprises you in the best way possible. At first glance, you might think, oh, it's just another open world adventure, but then you actually start playing and it just hooks you. The world is vibrant, full of mythological wonders, and packed with clever puzzles that constantly challenge you without ever feeling frustrating. The combat? Fast, fluid, and super satisfying. You're flipping through the air, dodging massive enemy attacks, and pulling off combos that make you feel like a true demigod. The best part? You get to wield godly powers, hurling boulders, summoning spears from the ground, and even soaring across the skies like a legend straight out of Greek mythology. But what really makes Immortals Fenyx Rising shine is its humor and storytelling. Unlike most mythological games that take themselves too seriously, this one leans into the fun with hilarious banter between Zeus and Prometheus as they narrate your journey. It keeps things lighthearted while still delivering an epic adventure filled with larger-than-life monsters, sprawling landscapes, and some truly rewarding exploration. If you love games that mix action, puzzle solving, and an open world that begs to be explored, this is one you don't want to miss. Shadow of the Tomb Raider takes everything you love about the series and cranks it up to the next level. This time, Lara isn't just surviving. She's embracing the role of the hunter, lurking in the shadows, taking down enemies with brutal precision, and blending seamlessly into the jungle like a ghost. The stealth mechanics, so satisfying. You're covering yourself in mud, striking from above, and using the environment to your advantage in ways that make you feel like a true predator. But it's not just about combat, the world is stunning. The dense, overgrown jungles feel alive. The ancient tombs are bigger and deadlier than ever, and the puzzles actually make you stop and think. No mindless hand-holding here, you have to figure things out, which makes every discovery feel earned. And then there's the story. This is Lara at her most vulnerable, grappling with the weight of her actions and facing off against a ruthless enemy while trying to prevent an apocalypse she might have set in motion. The emotional depth, on point. You really feel her struggle, making every step of her journey that much more intense. If you're a fan of deep exploration, challenging tombs, and an action-packed story that keeps you hooked, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is an adventure you absolutely need to experience.
Remember, people, any structural opening is a potential enemy vector.
More helicopters. Your shield. Trinity's hunting them.
Middle-earth. Shadow of War takes the already incredible Nemesis system from its predecessor and dials it up to a whole new level. You're not just slashing through orcs, you're building an army, turning enemies into allies, and waging all-out war against Sauron's forces. The way orc captains remember past encounters, taunt you, or even betray you mid-battle, it's insane. No two playthroughs ever feel the same, and that unpredictability keeps you hooked for hours. The combat is just as fluid and brutal as ever, letting you chain together devastating attacks, counter incoming strikes with perfect timing, and unleash pure carnage in the middle of an orc stronghold. And speaking of strongholds, fortress sieges are next level. Charging into battle with your own army, breaking through defenses, and taking down enemy war chiefs feels like a proper battlefield experience, and the satisfaction of claiming a fortress as your own, unmatched. But it's not just the action, the world itself is dripping with lore. From the fiery landscapes of Gorgoroth to the eerie depths of Kirith Ungol, every location feels rich with Middle-earth's history. And let's not forget the story, which takes Stallion on an even darker path, forcing him to make choices that blur the line between hero and villain. If you love deep combat, dynamic storytelling, and the thrill of creating your own legendary battles, Shadow of War is an absolute must-play.
Remaining.
Enslaved, Odyssey to the West is one of those games that grabs you with its world and never lets go. It takes the classic journey through a ruined world concept and injects it with heart, stunning visuals, and a story that sticks with you long after the credits roll. You play as Monkey, a powerhouse of agility and strength forced into an uneasy alliance with Trip, a tech-savvy survivor.
Escape pod 2 launched. Warning. Run.
Their dynamic isn't just central to the story, it's woven into the gameplay, making every moment feel like a genuine struggle for survival. The post-apocalyptic world isn't the usual gray wasteland. It's lush, overgrown, and brimming with life, making it one of the most visually striking settings of its time. The platforming is smooth and satisfying, letting you leap across ruins with acrobatic ease, while the combat delivers a perfect mix of weighty melee attacks and strategic enemy encounters. And those mechs? They don't just look menacing, they force you to think fast, dodge, counter, and take them down in cinematic style. But what really makes Enslaved unforgettable is the bond between Monkey and Trip. Their evolving relationship isn't just told through cutscenes, it unfolds through gameplay, small interactions, and moments of trust and tension. By the time you reach the game's emotional finale, you're not just playing a game, you're experiencing a journey that feels deeply personal. If you're into gripping storytelling, fluid action, and world building that pulls you in, this is a hidden gem you can't afford to miss.
Escape pod 7 launched. 6 pods remaining.
Better get a move on. Oh no, you gotta be kidding me!
The Technomancer is one of those games that flies under the radar but has so much to offer if you give it a chance. Set in a brutal dystopian Mars where corporations and factions are constantly at war, it throws you into a world of political intrigue, moral choices, and intense combat. You play as Zachariah, a rising Technomancer, basically a warrior with devastating electrical powers. And every decision you make shapes how the world around you reacts. The combat is where the game really shines, blending fast-paced melee fights with tactical use of Technomancer abilities. You're not just swinging a weapon, you're switching between combat styles on the fly, zapping enemies with electrified strikes, and dodging attacks with precision. It's got that RPG depth too, letting you customize your skills, weapons, and even your approach to missions. Will you be a ruthless enforcer or a strategist who talks their way out of trouble? But it's not just about combat. The world building here is seriously underrated. The Martian colonies feel alive, filled with corruption, danger, and characters with their own agendas. Side quests have weight, and the choices you make stick with you, shaping your reputation and alliances. If you're into sci-fi RPGs that give you freedom, challenge you in combat, and pull you into a world full of tension and mystery, the Technomancer is an experience worth diving into. Dead Space Remake is survival horror perfection, an absolute masterclass in atmosphere, tension, and brutal strategic combat. From the moment you step onto the derelict USG Ishimura, you feel the weight of its eerie silence, broken only by the distant screeches of something lurking in the shadows. This isn't just a fresh coat of paint on a classic. The remake takes everything that made the original terrifying and dials it up to a whole new level. The lighting, the sound design, the grotesque detail in every twisted corridor, it all pulls you into a nightmare where no place feels safe. And the combat? Still some of the most satisfying and nerve-wracking in the genre. You're not just blasting enemies, you're carefully dismembering necromorphs, limb by limb, making every shot count because ammo is scarce and panic is real. And trust me, when the lights flicker and you hear something crawling in the vents, your heart will be pounding. What makes this remake special is how it modernizes the experience while keeping the soul of the original intact. Isaac Clarke is now fully voiced, making his descent into horror feel even more personal. The zero-gravity sections are completely overhauled, letting you navigate freely instead of just jumping from surface to surface. And let's talk about the intensity director. This game actively messes with you, changing enemy spawns, sounds, and environmental effects, so you're never truly comfortable. Whether you're a longtime fan or stepping into this nightmare for the first time, Dead Space Remake is the definitive way to experience one of the greatest survival horror games ever made.
Refueling sequence activated. Additional fuel required for engine restart.
A Plague Tale. Requiem isn't just a sequel. It's an emotional gut punch wrapped in one of the most stunningly crafted worlds in gaming. Amicia and Hugo's journey continues, but this time, the stakes feel even higher, the world even more brutal. The sheer scale of everything has been dialed up, larger environments, more ways to fight back, and of course, even more of those relentless, flesh-hungry rats. What makes this game so special is how it blends heart-wrenching storytelling with intense stealth and survival mechanics. You're constantly on edge, sneaking through war-torn villages, avoiding ruthless soldiers, and using fire, alchemy, and raw instinct to stay alive. The rats are no longer just a force of destruction. They're a tool you can manipulate, but that power comes with consequences. And when the game pushes you into combat, it's not about feeling like a hero. It's about desperation, survival, and protecting the ones you love. Visually, this game is breathtaking. Every sunset, every ruined city, every field of flowers feels alive, creating this haunting contrast between beauty and horror. And the soundtrack? Pure magic. It knows exactly when to swell with emotion and when to leave you in silence, letting the weight of the moment sink in. If you loved innocence, this game takes everything that worked and builds on it in ways that will leave you speechless. A Plague Tale. Requiem is a rare kind of experience, one that lingers in your mind long after the credits roll.
Just a Vaudin really help?
The Order has been studying the macula for centuries. If they can't, I don't know who can.
Lord, protect him. Why hasn't Vaudin shown up already?
I think he's just being discreet. The Order works like this.
Someone must know about him.
Kingdom Come, Deliverance is hands down one of the most immersive medieval RPGs ever made. No magic, no dragons, just raw, unforgiving realism. Set in a living, breathing world that treats you like an actual person, not some overpowered hero. You start as Henry, the son of a blacksmith, and instead of being some chosen warrior, you're just a guy trying to survive a brutal civil war. The game doesn't hold your hand. Combat is deep and skill-based, forcing you to actually learn how to fight with swords, bows, and even fists. If you don't eat, you'll starve. If you wear bloody, dirty clothes, people will judge you. Every decision has weight, and the world reacts to how you play. Want to be a noble knight? Train, earn respect, and act with honor. Prefer a more shady path? Sneak, bribe, and steal, but be prepared for the consequences. The attention to detail is insane. Towns feel alive, NPCs have daily routines, and even the smallest interactions feel meaningful. The historical accuracy is next level, making it feel like you're actually stepping into 15th century Bohemia. And the best part? No two playthroughs feel the same. Kingdom Come. Deliverance is not just a game, it's an experience. If you're craving an RPG that makes you work for every victory, one that pulls you into its world and refuses to let go, this is the one to play. And there you have it, 20 insanely addictive single-player games that will keep you hooked for hours on end. Whether it's intense combat, gripping stories, or just the pure joy of exploration, these games prove that sometimes you don't need multiplayer chaos to have an unforgettable gaming experience. But hey, this is just my take, what about yours? Which of these games have you sunk the most time into? And did I miss any that deserve a spot on the list? Let's get the discussion going in the comments. I'm Abdul Wahab, the creator behind proawplayer, and every video you watch here is made with passion, effort, and a real love for gaming. No AI-generated fluff, just real content from a real gamer. If you enjoyed this, stick around. There's always more to come. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.